Welcome back to Ultimate Combat Radio. Mike Stidham here talking a little mixed martial arts with a couple of folks that know a little bit about mixed martial arts. This segment is brought to you by Aztec Highway. Get it your way at the highway. WDFA. A reminder of our poll question. Which boxer do you think would have the best chance of success at mixed martial arts? And apparently we had a caller last segment, and I'm deaf. I didn't hear him. He told me. So Ryan, if you're still listening, call us back. We'd love to hear from you. In fact, we're going to throw in a date with Robertina if you call back. So give us a jingle now.
Apparently I'm up for grabs.
Now, Bob and Joe, you guys were down at UFC 135.
Yes.
And I understand you were well behaved.
Yes.
Always.
And represented the show very well.
It's true.
And in fact, you guys came back with some pretty cool paraphernalia. Let's talk about that right off the bat.
So after the fights, we were standing around, and John Jones was injured during his fight, and he was coming out in a wheelchair, just wheeling along, and
Robertina stuck her big foot out.
No,
Stopped the
I grabbed his wheelchair handles and pulled him back and got him to sign the official UFC 135 program.
That's pretty cool.
So it's up for grabs.
And we believe, I'm going to say, I think it is the only program signed by him that night because he
wasn't talking to anybody.
Oh, no.
He was out of there.
It
man.
was easier to talk to anybody. Like he 2 hours I think we waited to get this.
So
signature.
a piece of history, if you will, we've got, and you guys want to give this away, and we really couldn't figure out or peg down how we wanted to give this thing away. But
well, first you got to get out of my hands.
Yeah, Joe. That's the thing. Is Joe's like, I'm not just going to give this thing up. Somebody's got to do something cool for it. So first of all, you got to be a friend of ours on Facebook. That's the first rule, right?
Yes. Go
what,
like
what
our
goes
page.
beyond that? So yeah, like our page, and we'll figure it out beyond that. So how do they like our page, Robertina?
Well, they go to Facebook.com and type in Ultimate Combat Radio, and it pulls up our page. You click the little box that says like. There you go.
Or if you just go to Facebook.com/Ultimate Combat Radio, you're there, man. You're right there.
I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed in our listeners
What are you disappointed on?
that maybe they don't know how to type in.
Go like us and you'll be
just like us.
Go
and we'll
like
work
us.
it out from there.
Yeah, you'll be eligible to win this. We're gonna figure out a cool way to give this away. So.
All right, Joe. Let's break it down, man. What else happened down there?
Oh man! First of all, awesome event.
Well, we sent Kaiser down there as well, and I understand he's not bringing back a whole bunch of anything.
Oh, I watched the main event. Come on now.
He said, I'm going down there as a spectator, and he spectated the beer line is what it sounded like.
Nice.
And Robertina and I don't think we had a drink the whole show.
Well,
We were well behaved.
well, then let's hear what you sober people saw.
So UFC was awesome to us. They took really good care of us, and it was a great experience. And I got to tell you, watching these fights live, it's really interesting because it humanizes these guys. You know, you watch them on pay-per-view and you see them with this HD TV and everything. You just think they're like, and you get down there and you realize that they're just another fighter trained.
The first time I went down there, I had that same kind of feeling. You went down and you go, man, these are just regular dudes,
Yeah,
man.
they are.
I thought Frank Shamrock was, God back in the day, and I met him. I was like, you're just a regular guy.
Yeah, well, I had a chance. I met Chuck Liddell back, and he shook my hand, talked to me, and it was nobody. He wasn't a superstar.
Now I had the opposite feeling. Chuck, he was so big. He was a lot bigger than I thought he would be.
He's huge.
He scared me, and I don't get scared very easy. But we asked him. I said, "Was there anything you don't want us to ask you about in this interview?" He said, "You asked me about my girlfriend, and you're dead." And I was like, "Okay."
he was down there with his wife and his daughter, and so people kind of stayed away from him. But he was a cool guy to meet, and so everybody down there was just awesome to talk to. They're just another fighter,
Yeah.
Anyways, you want to break down the card?
Let's break down the whole thing, man. Let's talk about the whole experience because I don't, and really, I don't think a lot of people have been to a UFC live, and so what's it like? Well, you go down there, and you guys kind of had the advantage of being press, so you were in you were able to get backstage, go to the press conference and all that. So maybe Brandon can help us out with the live experience. I've been sometimes where I had good tickets and sometimes where I had bad tickets.
We had both point of views because Robertina and I were right next to the cage, and he was as far away as the kids, right?
Yeah, I got a text from these guys halfway through the event asking where I was, and it wasn't until that moment that I realized that I pretty much was as far away from the cage as you could possibly be. And my response to everyone that, was inquiring about how my seats were was, they're awesome. And then I realized, wow, it is awesome to be here, even when you're way up in the nosebleeds between the screens and just the production, the lighting, the whole event. It's just electric. It's awesome.
You know what's interesting to me? Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
They make it really easy to watch too. Like if there's a part where you can't can't see some of there. They have screens everywhere, huge screens. So
that's where I think they've improved, because the show, in my mind, when I used to go to them, it used to be very set up for the pay-per-view audience only. It was, if you were there live, there was a lot of dead time. There was a lot of seats with bad angles, and if you didn't have really good tickets, you were up with people that you felt like maybe have escaped from the trailer park up the street.
That part hasn't changed.
but there were a lot of tough guys walking around being tough guys, and I think it's become more spectator friendly because they have the screens, and are they showing things on the screens when the fights aren't going on?
You see exactly what you see on a pay-per-view. The intro.
Okay. See, they didn't
see all
have
that.
before.
And there was like 6 huge screens all around, and then they had the big screen in the middle, so you can see it at any.
See, back in the day, you'd see the characters from the show down there in the ring doing stuff, but you'd have no idea what was going on because there was no house sound or anything. Like, you were just, there was just a lot of dead time, and it wasn't very fan friendly. So it sounds like they've upped that game a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
The only thing that threw me off was during the fights, we didn't hear Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg.
Yeah, it was weird. You're used to that's part of the show.
You're used to that.
You're used to hearing those guys, and you don't have commentary. So
I did my own commentary.
I'm sure. Now I understand you fell in love with
everybody. Oh, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Oh my gosh, He's
better looking in person than we suspected.
He talked. Go ahead.
He has surpassed GSP.
Take it back. Take it back.
I'm
Rogan.
not kidding. I almost passed
funny guy,
out.
Joe Rogan.
We had a chance
Hot, amazing guy, Joe Rogan.
We had a chance to talk to him after the fight, after we got the autograph. He's walking out all by himself. He didn't have his entourage. There was nobody around. It was just us and him in a tunnel, and Robertina
froze.
I thought she was going to pass out.
I choked.
The person doing the interviews, I'm following her out so she can do the interviews with all these fighters. And Joe Rogan, one of the guys we want on this show.
That was on our list. Now that was our bucket
know.
list. We look. So when I go to Vegas, I always see a big group of girls running around, and they have a list with them, and they're on their bachelorette party, and they end up coming up and kissing me, and then I see them cross off kiss fat old guy, So we sent you down there with a list, and the list was get somebody from Tap Out, get Joe Rogan, and get Dana White, and those were the 3 things you did, and you got one of them. So
hey,
failed.
In my defense, I chased Dana White down the hall. I was told, Robertina, we gotta catch him.
You should have had to kiss old fat guy since you didn't do the rest.
Right?
Oh, she did.
All right, so it sounds like the fan experience was great.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, and I got to tell you, it was hard not being a fan there.
Right,
When you're in the media section,
you're part of the media. They don't want you cheering.
Yeah, you can't take pictures. You can't. So it's kind of hard not to be a fan when you're there, especially for the first time. So
and I'll be honest with you, the other members of the press, they would really get mad at you if you were acting like that, because they kind of have this little fraternity that they're in, and you're an outsider, and it's kind of hard to crack that shell. It's kind of hard to get in with them, especially if you seem like a fan and you're just there on vacation. That just kind of bothers them because they're there to work.
And a lot of them, they don't want to be there.
They don't even like the sport, most of them.
Yeah.
If they're from USA Today, guaranteed they got the short end of the straw, and they had to go cover MMA while somebody else is going to the Cowboys game.
It was kind of overwhelming because when we sat down at the weigh-ins, I sat down next to USA Today. USA Today.
He did look mad.
And then he did not want to be there. And then we got Ariel Helwani next to us, who was like the biggest MMA reporter there is. He does Inside MMA.
Is he on Ultimate Combat Radio?
He's no Mike Stidham.
Never heard of the guy.
But it was kind of overwhelming with these guys, and then it's hard. It really is hard to get to talk to him and stuff. So, but
Robertina, our show producer and director, is telling us get to the fights.
Let's
Joe,
break down the card.
What happened? What if we didn't see the fights, which I didn't? I saw the main event, but I didn't see any other fights. What happened?
All right, we'll just go over the main card. Nate Diaz defeated Takanori Gomi,
which everybody predicted, right?
Yes.
We all thought he was going to do that.
And he put on a flawless fight. I mean, everything was perfect. He put on a clinic.
It's hard not to do that when your brother has fought the guy, because how much better insight can you have to prepare for somebody, and you can't. It's not the same for Gomi because he's not the same guy, but it would be hard not to have a perfect game plan going in.
Yeah, it was. He got submission of the night. He got real comfortable inside the cage, and he was putting his hands down, just boxing him. And then,
do you know what submission of the night paid?
$65,000.
That's good dough, man.
No, it was $75,000.
That's a good incentive to put on a really cool sub. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it was awesome because he had him in the triangle, and and just like you're supposed to, he pulled out a triangle and he pulled on the armbar and finished it. It
Nice
was
little transition.
Yeah, it was
Something
just
we teach over at the Ultimate Combat Training Center.
he put on a clinic. So Travis Brown defeated Rob Broughton, unanimous decision. It was a boring fight. Travis Brown's usually exciting. He's the one that knocked out Stefan Struve, the
He's
big
the
giant
6'9" guy.
Yeah, he knocked him out with a Superman punch, and he came in here. He said he wanted to finish it, and
He was fighting a Brit, though.
yeah.
Brits are too gentlemanly to fight, I think, and it makes their fights boring.
And it was annoying because all his training partners sitting right behind us, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying.
Yeah, we had a Brit in here last week in studio, and we just didn't really care much for his tone.
So Mark Hunt defeated Ben Rothwell via unanimous decision.
We were cheering for that because Rothwell dogged us. He was scheduled to be on the show and no-showed us.
Oh, no way.
And you know what? It was a terrible fight. It was,
Oh, my gosh.
I've seen better main events in your show. You know, it's just two big
What are you trying to say?
fat guys.
And
This is the UFC. You say this. This is the UFC.
I'm with you on that, brother.
You
I'm
should
totally on
come.
it.
They
for
were out
sure.
of shape.
You know what? And if I was Dana White, I'd be extremely upset. Look, man, this is the big leagues. You get ready for the big leagues if you're coming here, and you know, especially if you're not fulfilling your media commitments either.
Yeah. And it was funny in the press conference after they said they offered Mark Hunt money to not fight, to kind of stay, because I think he came from Pride or whatever, and they told him, you know, you're part of that Pride deal, we'll pay you a little bit of money, you're not fighting. He didn't want it. He wanted to fight, so he came out and he put on. I thought it was a terrible showing.
Who offered him money not to fight?
The UFC.
I don't get it.
I mean, neither. They
get
told him, you know, you don't have to fight anymore. You're gonna get your whatever from.
Oh, they just were going to send you on your way.
Yeah, and
Oh.
he wanted to fight, but I don't think he has. I don't think he'll
They'll
be
send
fighting,
him on
yeah.
his way.
It was
Yeah.
The UFC don't
very-
want you. They'll get rid of you.
It was a very sloppy fight. It was.
It was.
pretty
It was
terrible.
Fertitas will have you rubbed out. They don't want you.
Sad part of the night. Koscheck defeated Matt Hughes, first round KO.
Why is that sad?
Yeah, that's not sad.
Because-
We don't like Matt Hughes.
Matt
You
Hughes is
don't
a
like
jerk.
Koscheck.
I like Koscheck.
I know.
Divided. Table
But-
is split in half right now.
Nobody likes Koscheck. You should heard it. They booed him.
You
Oh,
should have heard
yeah.
the great story I told you last week about Matt Hughes. You wouldn't like him either. He was mean to Travis Paxton.
Oh.
We didn't like that.
But
I think Denver hates Koscheck. They
Oh.
did not
Oh
stop
my
booing.
gosh,
huh?
it was intense. Yeah.
Until Ariane Celeste got up and then they cheered and then it was back to the
Oh, and by
Yeah,
the
they
way,
better not boo.
by the
him.
way-
Everybody's up.
she is not as good looking in person.
Mike's
You were
gonna punch
drinking,
you.
Joe. You were drinking at the show then, because you were gonna have a fist fight. First of all, you're dumping on GSP and you're dumping on Ariane.
What is happening to the show?
What is wrong with you people, man?
We're not going to be able to go back to the
Maybe
the
it
press
was the
credentials.
thin air in Denver or something. You guys were a little lightheaded.
Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe.
All right.
And then the main event, John Jones defeated Rampage Jackson with the rear naked choke.
And everything else that he threw at him, the kitchen sink included. I mean, he beat up Rampage in every way he wanted to.
And it's funny because I think if Rampage would have let loose, he probably could have stopped the fight and won the fight, because it looked like John Jones was a little timid in the first round or two.
How?
I don't know.
Because he was
if I
on his
agree.
hands and knees.
Oh, he was,
Right?
and
That
he
was
scared.
probably the dumbest thing I ever seen, and he got
So
cracked in his
funny.
face for it, and it was worth it. And I was glad that he
And,
did. But
yeah, he said the reason he did that is because he was scared of Rampage's power. He said that in the press conference after that. He was scared of the power, and he wanted to get him down and wear him out before.
well, that's a real good strategy. Come in looking like an ape and then get punched in your face.
Yeah.
Hey, but he won the fight, so
Yeah, well, he
mission
won the fight.
accomplished.
And he beat, in my opinion, the best Rampage we've seen in a long
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
he
without a
looked
doubt. Yeah, he
good,
did.
even though
Yep,
he
I
got
agree.
picked apart the entire
And
time.
Rampage even admits that was the best at this fight than he's ever been.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
$1
a
million
safe statement.
training camp,
Yeah.
and you better be in the
When
best
he
shape.
escaped the mount, there was one point in the fight where
Oh,
he
yeah.
just stood up from the mount. And
Yeah,
I
he
was
just
like,
was awesome.
oh my gosh,
Yeah, it was awesome.
he is
And I will say
looking
this:
good.
I think that John Jones is a young prospect that he's been able to reach the highest elevation in his weight class, but he's got a long ways to go. He could be a lot better, and he's so new at this that he's got a lot of room to improve. Number one, he's got to get in the weight room. I think some of those guys are very physical in the light heavyweight division. He just needs to be a little bit stronger.
I don't think there's room for him to pack on any.
I'm not saying put on weight. He needs to be stronger. You don't get stood up on from mount if you have a little bit of strength, But I mean, his footwork. We talked about some of the stuff that he was doing. He threw that first spinning elbow and it landed, and then he threw the same dang thing with the same setup. And you could have thrown a turn kick or something and maybe given us some variety. Do we have a caller?
Break time.
Oh, we're taking a break. Man, you got to speak up back there. We got a shy producer today.
Real quick, we talked to Greg Jackson as he was leaving the fight after John Jones was in the dressing room, and we asked him if he followed the game plan. He said, yeah, he did. He said there's a few things we need to work on that he didn't do.
Sure.
He didn't elaborate on it, but he says there are things that they need to do, and they're going to correct them. And we did. We also asked him about that because he's fighting Rashad next. The whole Rashad John Jones thing, and Greg Jackson said he's going to step out on this one just because of what's been going on.
Jackson's out, and let him fight it out for themselves.
Let
good.
them
All right, good stuff. All right, well, good stuff, Joe and Bob. Thank you so much for going down there and doing that for us. It sounds like you guys had a great time.
Oh, somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah. All right, well, we got Will Bernales, crew Will Bernales, when we come back.